Ubisoft invited me to play Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora early, and my biggest question going in was, is this just Far Cry with blue people? Now that I've played about 2 hours from a remote session, I think it's pretty clear to say that yes, Avatar is basically Far Cry. If you like Far Cry, then that's probably a good thing, but if you don't, then this might be a lipstick on a pig situation. And I say that because Avatar is absolutely mind-blowingly gorgeous. Just flying around this world is kind of crazy. I stopped just to look at the scenery several times, and I don't really do that with video games anymore. It's also safe to say that if you're an Avatar fan, I think you'll really like this game. I think it goes all out in this universe and this world and really trying to bring you in as much as possible. But if you're like me and you waited to watch Avatar until you were on a plane because it was the free movie available, I think I just gave James Cameron a heart attack, then I'm not quite sure there's enough going on here with the world and the story to keep you playing a ton. Like I said, the early gameplay footage is really impressive. I think it's doing some really cool open world visual stuff, but playing this game moment to moment, like you've played Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora many times before. You attack bases in this game and open chests as a reward. You go around and collect various resources that you can use in crafting items. And you unlock and fly around on a mount, and you've also got this first-person perspective for cinematics. It's not that these things can't be fun or exciting, especially when the world is as pretty as it is, but don't go into Avatar expecting something new or really groundbreaking from an open world game. Basically, go into Avatar expecting a Ubisoft open world video game, because that is what it is. Before we jump in, thanks to Ubisoft for inviting me to play Avatar early. In my demo, I got to play 4 main story missions and a couple side activities and open world stuff. I blew through this content very quickly. Like, we had 3+ hours to play, but I finished the bulk of the content in half that time and just explored the rest of the time. And it wasn't because I was rushing, mind you, there wasn't that much going on. I mean, without spoiling you guys, I was collecting a resource for the first mission. Then I climbed this mountain and did some parkour in these sky islands. This was by far my favorite part of the demo because it was visually striking. There was some engaging platforming going on that kept my attention, and I got my own bird dinosaur thing called an Ikran. Then I used that Ikran to attack these floating satellite things and hack them. And then the final mission was a very classic Ubisoft attack the base and destroy it mission. So a few observations as I was playing through these. Number one, your movement is kind of weird, and I think it's because the Na'vi are really large, like very big compared to humans. This took me a while to get used to because it felt really slow and lumbering at first, and I realized, oh, it kind of makes sense. At the same time, I don't know if it feels that great to run around as a Na'vi, just on the ground. I mean, it's nice to have the Ikran to fly around on. It's like visually, again, it shows off probably the best part of this game, which is the way that it looks. But more often than not, I wish I could have parkoured or swung from some tree branches or done some more interesting, cool movement mechanics. I mean, practically half of Ubisoft games have parkour at this point, so I was sort of curious, like, why? Why doesn't this one have something like that? My demoist did tell me there's these blue flowers where if you walk over them, they'll give you a little speed boost. So it's not like Ubisoft doesn't know this, but I'm not sure they do enough to really circumvent that. Let's switch over to combat. Now, I can't show you guys any like menus, so that means no skill trees. I can't even show you the inventory screen where you equip weapons and mess around with that. But it basically looks like Far Cry mixed with Assassin's Creed. You've got your character with the gear slots, and you can mess around with those and customize, upgrade them. I had access to a heavy bow for like long range, really high powerful shots, and then a short range bow for regular combat. Then I had an assault rifle, which just completely destroyed absolutely everything I shot at. But similar to Far Cry, you have different ammo types that you craft by gathering things out in the world. So I played around with different ammo types and blew up enemies in certain instances, poisoned them in others. There's not really much else to say, guys. I mean, it really is just point and shoot, and you can set up some creative situations based on the tools and gadgets that you have at your disposal. The human enemies died like instantly with the assault rifle, and then the harder ones were the mechs. Obviously, the RDA have these mech machines, and there's a couple different types that I ran into. There's also these scorpions in the air, which I found the most fun combat was when I was flying above the platforms and shooting at them with my assault rifle. I also got this skill where I could do like an aerial takedown of a scorpion if I hit it in a certain way, so I wanted to make sure and do that before I ended the demo. The other cool thing I was able to do was to pick up a rocket launcher. My demoist told me, hey, you can actually pick this up. It's like a heavy weapon though, so you shoot 2 shots and then you got to drop it. I wish I had more to say about the combat, but it was so brief and familiar that I really don't have anything else to say. It just is combat. It feels like you expect it's going to feel, and it's Avatar themed. Now, there is one thing I did like about the movement in relation to combat. You can do a charge jump, so you hold down the jump button and then release in order to get either a low jump, or if you hold it a long time, you get a long charge jump. So that felt kind of nice, like a little more utility than you expect otherwise. But again, expectation should be this feels like Far Cry. I mean, it's hard to not just call it a Far Cry game with the Avatar label. Since we're playing as a Na'vi, that means we have Na'vi senses, which is this blue outline thing with the HUD that you guys have been seeing. It shows enemies very clearly, ammo crates, stuff you can use. It also shows your objective. It's like this green sort of slash. And that was kind of like, it took my brain a long time to realize what this was actually doing for me. And then once I got the hang of it, it was fine. But it has utility in combat. It gives you all the information you need for a fight, and it also has utility for gathering, which is another part of the game we'll get to in a minute. But Na'vi senses let you attack stealthily if you want to. You see where everything is, you can pick apart enemies one by one. There's not like special stealth animation or anything like that. It's just, yeah, it's Far Cry. Certain enemies will call for reinforcements and you'll see that icon, and if you blow your cover, then you're screwed and reinforcements come and attack you. So I conquered the one base in the main mission, and then I decided to conquer another one towards the end of my session just to see what it was like, and they were both really similar. It was blow up this thing, turn this valve to explode this part of the base, and from an animation perspective and visually, yeah, it's like kind of cool to see stuff blow up, and it feels nice to do that. However, I could see this being really repetitive after a certain amount of time, but this is par for the course. I mean, that is what Far Cry feels like to me. Once I've done something, the rest of the content in the game is essentially that in a slightly different variation. That's what I expect here from what I've played. I can't show you guys the map, but it looks like what you would expect. A lot of icons, glowing ones show like a point of interest you can go to and take it out. Some of the land looks corrupted, and that's how you know the RDA is there. They're destroying the environment, siphoning the resources and polluting it like crazy. So that's how you can identify, hey, there's a piece of content here. There are also some random encounters. My demoist led me to a very specific area where this beast like stalks you. So you go into here and then all of a sudden you hear your Na'vi saying like, oh, I'm feeling weird. And then after about 30 seconds to a minute, you get ambushed. And so I assume this is like a legendary beast or something like that. Maybe there's a crafting resource associated with this. By this point in the demo, I was like, yeah, I've seen this before sort of feeling. Like a Far Cry game, there's a lot of hunting and a lot of gathering. And of course, the big distinction here is that Avatar is very like eco-friendly. So this is what it looks like to hunt an animal and then harvest it. So you're not like gonna get in there like Arthur Morgan and like slice it open and hear the, and collect the organs. Like none of that in this game. It's very much like you do a little ritual and then return it to the land from which it came. Very early in my demo, I was trying to do some hunting and I missed a Sturm Beast and decided to pull out my AR and just... And my demoist basically cackled and was like, yeah, you can't do that. You ruined the pelt. I can't show you the crafting. It's another thing I can't show you, so I'm not able to give you guys context on how that works, but I'm sure you can assume from how it's worked in previous Ubi games that, yes, you're collecting stuff, you go to a table in camps, you craft something. I don't know if this has been in Far Cry games, but they have the sort of scent trail from Red Dead Redemption 2 where you can follow where beasts have been, and that gives you kind of a track to follow. So that's a borrowed mechanic that I think makes sense in this game. And then the gathering is very much a similar experience. However, it's like they added an extra step to it. So instead of just picking something off the ground, you have to stop and then find the angle with your analog stick on controller until your controller rumbles, and then you press a button to pull it. And there's also a sort of a feature where it depends on the conditions of the world, whether you get a good pick or a bad pick. So Some plants should be harvested during the day or the night. Some should be harvested in rainy conditions or dry conditions. So gathering is not an afterthought in this game. It's like a central thing. You can also cook with it. Can't show you the cooking station, so you're not able to see that context, but there's a Legend of Zelda or Immortals Phoenix Rising sort of aspect to it where you can cook something and then eat it for a temporary boost for like 15 to 30 minutes. Different recipes give you different outcomes, so it does matter what you're cooking. Funny enough, I'm usually not into this sort of slower paced gameplay, but this might be the most fun I had outside of flying my Egrin around. It's gathering very slowly, hunting very slowly, and sort of kind of trying to soak in the world rather than bounce from objective to objective. So I do think they have a little something there with that. As you can figure out by now, I'm not really sold on Avatar, and I think it's for two reasons. Number one, Avatar doesn't really speak to me as a movie series or something that I'm genuinely more curious about. And then number two, the Far Cry formula is also not interesting to me because it's really hard for me to see past the fact that I've been playing a very similar game since Far Cry 3. I do think there's value for some people who fall into the same camp as me, though. Visually, I think Avatar is going to be really striking. I mean, not Horizon Forbidden West looking in terms of an open world, but like really, really pretty from an aesthetic perspective. So it's very gorgeous. It's probably going to look great on a big TV. And then I do think there's sort of a meditative aspect with the hunting and the gathering and the cooking that some people would be into. But for me personally, I don't even know if I want to review this game. I don't know if I want a free copy to play. It didn't really convince me that I want to spend more than I just spent on it in the demo. Perhaps down the line when this is deeply discounted, or I just need a game to kind of play and shut my brain off and sort of melt into a pretty environment, I could play this. But otherwise, yeah, I think it's a skip for me. Regardless, Ubisoft is always very nice about my constructive criticism, so I want to thank them again for inviting me back to play something early and give you guys my perspective on it. I hope this was helpful for you. If you enjoyed the video, remember to hit that like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this and hit the bell so you don't miss my next one. Real quick, I want to give you guys a heads up. I haven't been making videos because I've felt really bad anxiety. It's something I struggle with, and sometimes it hits me hard to the point where I can't even work. I can't make videos, but I think we're pretty much done with that. So you should expect normal videos coming soon, and hopefully like different, better videos that I feel better about making. That's been a big thing for me. So hope you're looking forward to that. Thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you on the next one.